Insurance Meets Tech, the 4th edition, took place in Lagos at the Sheraton Hotel in Ikeja. And it brought together players in the insurance space, also in the tech space, to discuss exactly how technology can scale insurance across the country. I mean, there were a number of demos. There were, the live demos. There were keynote speeches. There were panel discussions, and really cool. Yeah, this was one of my favorite things. Where one of the panelists brought a drone on stage to deliver. So we're going to talk about that plus a whole lot more with a member of the audience who is an insurance executive, Omowale Olatunde-Agbeja, who is the MD of Boff and Company Insurance Brokers Limited. You're very welcome. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
We met at the event yesterday, so it was great to meet you. You were, participating in everything that was going on there. Thanks for joining us. NICOM played a real big role in this event. The regulator for insurance, they had a segment. They participated a whole lot. There was an executive panel on the Nigeria Insurance Industry Reform Act, NIRA. Can you talk about how that act is supposed to change business for you over at Boff?
Thank you so much. Good morning. Happy to be here. So, Boff and Company Insurance Brokers, we are intermediaries and we largely act in the interest of the policyholder.
Okay.
So we are between the insurers and the policyholder, and so we're always looking in the best interest of the policyholder. The changes that where the act affects brokers would be in respect of things like the contract certainty. So there are different things, but if I was to streamline it, I would say from the public's perspective, the act largely wants to assure the public that insurance is legit in Nigeria, that insurance pays. And so there are multiple things, including like a policyholders fund in a worst case eventuality where a company is unable to pay, essentially your claims can still be paid. For brokers, the minimum threshold for instance, professional indemnity insurance changed. It used to be 10 million, now it's 100 million. And so essentially, in a worst case scenario, again, if you get bad advice from a broker or for some reason your your claim is unpayable because your broker did not advise you rightly, you can actually make a claim against the broker. So there are just multiple things in there that is supposed to assuage the public and allay any fears that if you can't take up a policy, which you should because it's a lifestyle matter, it helps enhance your lifestyle and ensure that you're only ever ascending. You don't have to keep replenishing, by yourself or with your own money what has been lost. Then you can always move forward and there would always be a recourse for you.
Thanks. So the breakdown, thank you for that. Now, as far as scaling insurance with technology in the country, with what was talked about yesterday and so on and so forth, you think that's possible? Can technology scale insurance in Nigeria? Is it already being done?
Yes, technology can scale insurance in Nigeria, and yes, it is being done. It is being done, it has been done, and we would keep building. So we've had, for instance, aggregators, web aggregators to compare some simple retail insurance products, and by retail I mean for individual policyholders. For a while, I don't know if it's up to a decade, but some of it has been out there for a while. More recently, we've got, like you saw yesterday, if it's not drones, it's AI bots and assistants. And yes, there are ways that it can scale up in the complexity of what it is able to handle and also in the wider demography for consumers. On the corporate end, there is also a place for insurance and AI, Gen AI. But it's limited, so the tech and the auto deployment of all that is largely better, or at the very least in the short term, better deployed towards the retail sector. Cool.
Now, there was, in fact, I think it's going to show up at any point on the screen. One of the players in the sector had a vehicle, and you saw the demo. Yes. They essentially were using. You say they said they had an AI bot.
Yeah.
You can use your phone to take pictures of your car and send it to to assessments, and if you have damage and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
speak freely, honest assessment. What do you think? What do you think? I thought it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that demo. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. But what do you think? You think that's
proof of concept is what you're talking about? Can we actually get there? Yeah. Yes, we are not just discussing nice to haves. These are things that are either in, I would say, maybe their final stages if they haven't been deployed already, or things that will be done in there. And I'll definitely say short-term future, because with a number of players that we've been speaking to, even yesterday at the event, there's a whole lot that may not have been announced yet, but it's definitely being worked on. So for that, certainly it helps with turnaround time for insurers to get back to consumers. And again, you don't want to file a claim and be waiting 1, 2, 3 weeks while your car is in the garage. You know, eventually we might be able to get to the point of on-the-spot assessments and offers. So essentially you can get a problem with your vehicle and, get paid within a day or two. That's where we're headed, and yes, it's definitely feasible. Okay,
cool. And you know what? Sorry, my brains. It was Cornerstone Insurance that had that too, because there were so many players that were displaying stuff. And I actually asked the question, so I'm going to throw it to you because you heard the question, you heard the answer. Since you're an intermediary, if I can get an AI bot to ask me about my risk profile, and I can send answers to it, and it can sell me insurance, and then I can take my phone and take pictures of my car if somebody hits me, most likely a downfall driver, right? Or not, but shout out to all of them, they're still doing a great service. But anybody else that hits me, and there's damage, and I can send. Do we still need brokers? Do brokers still have a future? Because earlier in the segment, we had this gentleman in China, Derek Lin, who pulled his children out of school and is using his own AI software, Squirrel AI Learning, to teach them, because he believes AI can disrupt teaching. So can it disrupt brokers?
AI can disrupt insurance as it is now, and brokers would have to evolve in the scope of services that they offer. So at least presently, it was pointed out that we're not quite doing maybe enough consultancy. We largely do risk management for now, and we're selling policies, but there's a whole lot more that we can do in the same space. And even in putting things together, so not just for corporate entities with very large myriad variations of risk, even on the retail end, in helping to design that and figure out the best packages to put together, or even in pricing, engaging with your actuaries and other people. Yes, there's still definitely a place for brokers, but I would say how we're working broking today, with more tech coming into the space, that would definitely have to evolve. Okay, now this gentleman here, I thought this was so cool. That was Mr. Macaulay, I think it's DJ Macaulay of Cube Cover, where he was, I guess, had that drone and was talking about making deliveries and stuff. What can drones do for insurance firms, if anything at all? If anything at all, drones are already, globally, and then certainly Nigeria looks to play on a global scale. So if not being deployed here, then soon. Drones are already being used for claims adjustments. They're already being used to get to consumers quicker, and I would say especially in claims, which is essentially the value of insurance that you're buying. You don't just want to buy, insurance, get a certificate, and not have anything happen for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Right. So the proof of insurance is in claims, the handling, the turnaround time, and how we're essentially able to deliver great service to you. So contacting your insurer instead of waiting for a human to either come site your vehicle or take it to your garage for them to, do a workup. A drone could be deployed quickly to where you are, take a scan and upload that to, somebody else who can make the assessment, or based on what we were saying a few minutes ago, the drone could even be programmed to issue an offer immediately based on its repertoire, its database of existing issues and values and repairs. Great stuff. Okay. Which subsector of insurance could see the most disruption? Is it health, or we've talked a lot about automobiles here? Do you see any one of them being at more risk of disruption? And when I say disruption, not a bad thing. I was going to say thank you. So it's a good thing, right? So which could see the most impacts, right? The most impact for disruption, certainly with personal individual insurances, with life. I know that in Nigeria on the back end, we're working on developing sort of like our own risk management, so our own life mortality rates on the life insurance side. So with enough data, and with enough data, certainly all of that could be deployed. Life health, In terms of, it's about how we deploy it. It can pretty much go everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anyone is more at a risk, but again, it's about where we go and the consumers as well. So whether it's the informal sector, the retail sector, the unbanked, or the ones that presently either are unaware or don't have those policies. If we focus on those guys, then of course what we're trying to deploy to them would be slightly different. And yes, tech would certainly disrupt whatever it is that we're doing today.
You preempted my next question. You mentioned the informal sector. You were there. I asked that question, I think, about 3 times. Right? And maybe you can give us your experience with your company. Since you're an intermediary between,
between both sides.
So the informal sector, what's that journey like? Trying to get them in? I know there's a micro insurance policy which is supposed to be more affordable. What is the reality on ground? We're trying to get more folks in the informal sector insured, and can tech play a role there? I guess
tech does play a role there. Yes. So there are microinsurance guidelines. We do have microinsurance players in the market, and largely a lot of tech is deployed because between the small cost of the premiums and the values, I believe it's about 2 million presently.
Yeah.
Yes, tech needs to be done because it's not practical to have a human, sit and work through all of that. For the informal sector, it would largely be about how we engage. So still building trust, still building awareness. They do actually have, it may not be insurance the way we call it or play it, but they do actually have sort of like risk management plugs in their own way. So it's for us to work to harness it and holistically try to formalize it. That's the best way the insurance sector can serve them.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, what's your outlook for the sector? And the penetration rate is pretty low, less than 1. What needs to happen to boost it, I guess?
So the penetration rate, yes, is low, has historically been low. Interestingly, some great economists at NICOM, I saw a graph that the Commissioner for Insurance presented earlier this year that actually showed that notwithstanding our low rates, which nobody's denying, the stats are there, the data is there, the growth of insurance, at least in the last 5 years, I think it was from 2019 to 2024, it's actually outpacing a number of industries and I think possibly the country's GDP. So that's actually something that hasn't been looked at. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we are growing. It's now about how we grow exponentially to match, what everybody else is doing and what the rest of the country is doing. I'd say nearer 2025, the new act that the president passed on July 31 is a great start because that has brought to the fore not just some new compulsory insurances, but reiterated some of the existing ones, your occupiers liability insurance, your builders insurance. And again, this is just to ensure that the public is well taken care of. You mentioned, possibly your car being hit by a downfall driver. Ideally, you shouldn't even have to care if that downfall driver had insurance.
Right.
We're exchanging insurance details. I send it to your mechanic, your insurance pays. Your own comprehensive insurance shouldn't even have to play a factor in that. So now there are new laws. Everybody is now more aware, and the industry associations are working to ensure that this remains in the face of the public eye. I'd say with greater collaboration, government agencies, and regulatory synergy, it would help with implementation.
Yeah.
So implementation is key. It's about enforcing. It's about ensuring people recognize that they shouldn't just pick and choose what it is when they choose to be responsible to their fellow person on the road or to somebody walking into their office, into public buildings. That's it. So it's about greater awareness, but also implementation.
Fantastic.
And presently with the Act, I think we are well poised.
We'll bring you back to talk about how to get more downfall drivers insured.
Yes, please.
We got to have that conversation.
There's so much.
Omowale Olatunde-Ageja, MD, Boff and Company Insurance Brokers Limited. Thank you for a great conversation. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.